We're excited that David Koechner is with us in studio. Did I get close enough on that?
You know what? Everybody gets it wrong because you're correct.
David.
Okay? Koechner. How are you supposed to say it? Clearly, it's Koechner.
Koechner?
You've heard Koechner, but then your mind is right. So it means you're a bright person. You're like, that's not right.
Yeah.
Because your mind is going, I'm seeing the name in front of me. It's not Koechner. It's not.
It's not.
And it actually isn't.
It is not.
I have 36 first cousins on my dad's side. So when I got into show business, what was I supposed to do? You guys are saying it wrong? First of all, when did you start saying it wrong? There are 35 German families in this small town I grew up in. Which one of you wouldn't correct the dumbass Koechners and go, you're saying it wrong?
That's right. You got this wrong all the time.
Right?
What do you get called that, or what do you get called the most? Mark Packer or Champ Kind?
Todd Packer.
Excuse me, Todd Packer or Champ Kind?
These days, more Packer. Pac-Man, Packer. Or if you're at the airport, it's whammy or blammo. It's like, well, it ain't blammo.
It's pretty. I was saying this earlier. I never watched The Office until you guys hit Netflix, and my teenage kids are the ones that introduced me to it a few years ago. And it's really an incredible show. It's so much fun. My daughter is up here because she wants to meet you after the fact.
Very good.
But do you notice that maybe the demographic is a lot younger than you thought it would be?
Oh yeah, it's from 12 to 75, right? Because I'll see there at the show, and it'll always be like, oh, my kids want to come so bad. Like, I don't know why Comedy Club, because you're a restaurant, you can have a license to have kids, in the show.
Well, and you can take a kid to an R-rated movie as long as you have a parent.
Right? So, but yeah. Now, they're going to get a bit of an education. And I'll say it if I see a young kid in the audience, like, whoopsie, looks like you guys are going to have a talk on the way home. Because, Todd Packer's Todd Packer. But, yeah, it's amazing. Now, here's the way I break it down. I believe young kids come to it because they're like, oh, this is funny. Adults are stupid, right? Like they're all dumb. Then at some point in high school, they start getting the jokes. Like, oh, I get the joke, right? Then in college, it feels like, oh, the workplace isn't going to be that intimidating when I get out because they're all stupid on The Office. Then when you're out working, you're like, well, I guess I'm working in the office.
What got me is I'm sitting down watching with the kids, and Michael Scott is making phone calls because he thinks he's got herpes. And my kids are laughing, and, at that point, my son was 12 or 13, and I'm like, boy, I don't know why he thinks this is funny.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
This is a real thing.
Right.
Do you like? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Do you when you're in the airport, like Brian Cox, who was fantastic on Succession? He wants
Adam McKay here.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Brian Cox says that people always want him to insult them in the airport, call them a name. Do people want you to go Todd Packer on them in the airport and insult them?
They'll it's usually a quick interaction, and after a while you figure out how to dispatch it quickly.
Yeah,
I'm usually wearing a hat, and I can pull it down and just keep moving or whatever, and I don't mind. It's a blessing, it really is. But you can't give everybody what they want. I'll say hello. But I'm not asking you of your time. We had a nice pleasantry. Let's just leave it at that.
Move on,
Especially if you're at the airport, right? Now, the only time I can empathize with women is if I'm sitting down. I don't drink anymore. I used to. But if
because we were going to ask you to do and I was talking to this our social media director yesterday.
A breathalyzer?
No. We do it. I'll let you get back to your story. We've got a vodka sponsor. It's Charles Barkley's Vodka. And so we do a thing called Last Call. And we'll sit down in our green room, and we'll sit down over a bottle of vodka, and we'll do a 30-minute interview. And we did it with TJ Miller a couple of months ago, and he was great, and he was piss hammered. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe we should ask if David wants to do this. And then I saw in the bio, he's a recovering alcoholic. And I was like, nope, probably can't do this. So anyway.
I can't. I'd love to. Yeah. I was good at it. I'm as good as anybody. I'd say I'm better at most people at drinking.
I don't know about TJ Miller.
Well,
yeah, he can put them back.
That doesn't mean.
So anyway,
good.
back to airport sympathizing with women. Sorry.
When someone sits down, a guy sits down, wants to buy you a drink.
Okay.
Now, what's he buying in his mind?
Your time.
That's right.
Yep.
And guess what? I don't want to give him.
Your time.
Yes. Because what's Will Ferrell like?
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude. That's the only time I can go, I see what women go through. Because if I say no, then,
you're a dick.
Yeah, you're a dick. I know if I can say dick.
Yeah.
You can. But you can't say dicks. Anyway,
what's Will Ferrell
that's
like,
the
though?
only time.
Yeah, see, no, he'll answer us because he's trying to sell tickets tonight.
right.
444-0008,
He wants your
StarDome.com. He's got shows tonight. He's got shows on Saturday.
Yes.
Check it out,
3 on Saturday. We
StarDome.com.
got the office trivia at 4:00 on Saturday.
Ooh.
I say it's the best office trivia, best trivia show in the country. I come out, I host it as Todd Packer. There's 3 rounds that's played on an app on your phone. During those 3 rounds, I tell stories and I do Packerisms.
Oh, that's incredible.
It's all Packer all the time. So it's kind of like a hybrid trivia stand-up. At the end of the trivia show, the 2 top teams are going to come up on stage and compete in and do a scene with Todd Packer to determine the winner. There's a Q&A. It's the only show I do a meet and greet with, so everybody gets a picture. So
Is that all ages?
I don't know. You'd have to call the club.
I can text right now. I'll find that out for you.
We can talk to Tony.
Yeah, Tony will answer it, or Lance get an answer from the comedy club.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, fire away.
For your audition, did you have to look at anything? Did you have any inspiration from Finchy? Did that character? Did you look at
Turn
it?
my volume up.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yes, sir. Go ahead again.
I said when you did your audition for Packer, did you have anything to look for research for the Finchy character on the British version, or you just did your own?
Sir, if you don't mind, I did not audition.
And they begged you to take the part.
I'll tell you what happened. Poor guy, whoever he is. So I auditioned for Michael Scott. Now, like you said, you're a huge fan of the British Office.
Yes, love
huge fan of the British Office.
Finchy.
And I'm like, exactly, he's Finchy. How could they do an American version of The Office? It's culturally, because it's a cultural thing. It's all about, classism in England. How are they going to adapt this? So I auditioned for Michael Scott, but the audition sides for Michael Scott were David Brent's first scene in the pilot. Mm-hmm. I'm like, how do you say this other than the way Ricky Gervais did? I couldn't wrap my mind around it. Steve hadn't seen The Office, probably why he got it. No, Steve's a brilliant comic genius. He's a good friend of mine. But so I did not have a successful audition. So when they came to cast Packer, whatever it was, season 2, I can't remember. I was in Canada shooting your favorite movie called Snakes on a Plane. You're welcome, America.
Incredible.
It was necessary. And then
what is Samuel Jackson like?
Yeah, can't say those lines on this show. We'll say it off the air, folks. You can all say it with me. But so they'd hired a dramatic actor to do Packer, and after a couple of days, they realized this isn't working. So they're then compiling a list of people that they could maybe come in and audition for Packer. And Steve goes, why don't we just give it to Koechner? He's an a-hole. And that's not the truth. But he did say, how about Dave Koechner? So, and then Greg Daniels, I'd worked with him before on King of the Hill. And he's like, oh, that's perfect. So that's how that actually happened.
That's awesome.
Well,
yeah.
Speaking of auditions, everybody talks about when you audition for SNL and you were there for a season, the audition in front of Lorne Michaels. How nerve-wracking is it? What do you remember most about that?
Here's what the weird part is. I wasn't nervous because I knew it was mine. That sometimes in your life, you get this peaceful feeling in your heart, and it was mine. I don't know why. It's never happened since where I was like, this is mine. It has happened one other time. But I was like, this is mine. I knew since I was 13 years old I was going to be on the show. How? I don't know. I decided. And so I had this, I auditioned. I improvised my entire first audition. That's crazy. That's crazy. But it worked. So then you get a call back.
So what was it?
The audition?
Yeah.
You had to do an original character, 1 or 2 original characters, and then you had to do an impression of a political figure and an impression of an actor. So I just made it up. I did Pat Buchanan at the time because his voice and mine are somewhat similar, and so I did that one. Who else did I do? Gosh, it's slipping my mind right now. Lordy, I can't remember.
Charlie Sheen.
Huh?
Charlie Sheen.
No, it wasn't Charlie Sheen. I did play Charlie Sheen on the show, though, didn't I? But anyway, It was an older guy, so no one remembered. But anyway, that went well. Then, of course, there's the callback. And then that one, you can do whatever you want. And I wrote that piece. It was almost like a one-man show. I did 5 different characters. And I just remember...
You kill it?
Yes, I did. Now, here's the weird thing. You're in Studio 8H, which is the home stage for Saturday Night Live. And now that makes your heart pound a bit because you're on the stage that everybody's been on. And there's not an audience. That's the tough part. It's just dead. And no one's laughing. So I'd had enough stage time where you just focus on what you're doing. You don't focus on, is this working? Because now you're lost. If you're now not doing your job, you're hoping about something else that you can't control, well, now you're out of it, right? So, pardon me, it went very well. And then for the final callback, it's just you and the head writer and Lauren in his office, and that's the weirdest meeting you'll ever have. Because here's the thing I remember. 5 times in this conversation with him in his office, we're done talking about that now. Like, what? No one speaks to you like that. Have you had anyone in your life say to you, we're done talking about this now? Like, why?
A parent.
Unless it's your wife. Unless it's your wife. But,
David, go ahead.
Anyway, yeah. So at some point, the other guy leans over, by the way, you got the job. Yeah. So the third time is just to make sure you're not a weirdo. And I've told this story before, but there was one guy who got called back for the third time. And we all thought he was British. Why? He had a British accent. Well, guess what?
He wasn't British.
He wasn't British.
Wow. And they had figured that out?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's just too weird. That's a big red flag. So I don't know what happened to the guy.
He did not make Saturday Night Live, obviously.
He did not. He hasn't done anything since.
Yeah. David Koechner is with us in studio. He'll be at the Comedy Club. I've got a really good friend, a guy named Jacob Simmons, who's in an improv group here in town. In fact, I saw them last night, and he knew you were going to be on the show. He texted me, he said he's an improv legend. He was in a famous Chicago group called Beer Shark Mice.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beer Shark Mice.
Beer Shark Mice, just because we were trying to think of a name. So Neil Flynn, you know him as the janitor from Scrubs or the dad from The Middle. As me and 4 of my buddies, and we all knew each other from Chicago. This was a group we put together in L.A. because we were out there and we still wanted to just keep you just want to keep improvising. It's long form improvisation, folks, which means you take one suggestion and then you improvise for 40 minutes based on that suggestion. And the 5 of us, not to be less than humble, but we're good.
Oh, yeah.
We're as good as anybody. And man, we just could do magic. We could spin magic on stage because we're doing it right. All you have to do in improvisation is listen to what the person is saying. But people stop listening. It's as easy as a conversation if you just listen. All I've got to do is respond to the last thing you said. But if I'm already in my head spinning up some joke I'm going to tell, which is going to end the scene anyway. So we're all sitting around because we got this group of people. And I remember we rehearsed in my house, my living room 4 or 5 times just to figure out what format we're going to do. And we're trying to figure out what we're going to call ourselves. And then Flynn just out of nowhere goes, how about Beer Shark Mice?
Makes no sense.
Because
right?
it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But it's nearly philosophical. Well, what's that mean? I don't know. Beer Shark Mice.
So who is the best at improv? You know, we talk
Ian
about
Roberts.
we love Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Ian Roberts.
Ian Roberts.
Ian Roberts from UCB, and Adam McKay. But Ian Roberts from UCB, he and 3 other people created UCB, the Upright Citizens Brigade, which is the famous comedy theater in L.A. and in New York. But I would just say, Steve Carell too. Steve Carell, I've never, ever, 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 ever witnessed Steve Carell not have a good improv scene.
Wow.
Because at Second City, you can watch after the show they improvise, right? I've never seen Carell fail. What's that like?
Oh, I know.
Poor guy.
And he's become a good actor.
He's never
too.
learned anything because he
never fails.
Would you
He's amazing.
I mean, we're in the golden age of television right now, and I hate to sound like a snob. I just don't watch a lot of network television because there's so many good shows that are streaming. But my kids also love the Goldbergs, and I know you were part of that, and Jeff Garland's part of that. And when I watch it, it's nostalgic for me because I was an 80s kid.
Yep.
But that's a well-done show.
Oh, the writing is so good. The writing is so good. And Wendy McClendon is just the best. You want to talk about a pro, and she's the best part of that show, and she drives it, man. She's amazing, stone cold pro.
Do you like Garland?
Oh yeah, I've known Jeff since. I've known Jeff since. I've known Jeff since. Gosh, 1990. God, 1989. Yeah. Okay.
On the David Koechner is with us. He will be at the Comedy Club.
Yeah, 444-0008. I'm still trying to get word from Dina whether or not you can bring the kids out for office trivia.
Where's Tony? Is Tony in there?
Tony's on the couch.
Yeah,
Tony's
Tony.
on. Someone go talk to Tony.
Yeah, we'll find out. Rockstar's going to go talk to him.
But you've got shows tonight. You've got 3 shows tomorrow.
Yes.
Tickets anywhere from
matinee.
$10 to $40.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, that's cheap.
444-0008. We want to sell this thing out. StarDome.com for more information.
Stars only.
Stars only
Yes.
at StarDome. Yes. Who was the? Who made you laugh the most on The Office set?
On The Office, now see, you're doing television, and television is 23 and a half minutes.
Yep.
So you don't have time to screw around, right?
Right.
So, I mean, not like that. I'm going to sound like not a humble person. I come in dialed in. You know, I'm not going to laugh because we have a job to do. And I've looked at the script.
Yeah.
The thing that might surprise you is if someone's improvising or they say it in a way you just like, where'd that line reading come from, right? But of course, probably Steve or Rainn Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we were talking earlier, like your character obviously worked.
Yes.
Creed's character obviously
Yes.
worked, but they were like, we're not going to overdo it. Like
Right.
these guys work
Right.
because we use them.
Yep.
You
As
know,
a
we
spice.
we just spice.
It's a spice, not a meat.
Yeah, which had to take a lot of discipline
Yes.
from them to do that. Now, I know you would rather have been in every episode, I'm
I
sure.
was supposed to do the entire last season.
Right.
I'm giving away a trivia question, but I was supposed to do the entire last season. But then we had to do Anchorman 2, and Greg Daniels said, "Well, I need him for the whole season." So my guess is they probably ran into some salary issues
Yeah.
with some of the new people they hired, and they're like, "Well, we can't have him as a full-time person." So it was disappointing. But to me, like, there's always more, you know. Like if things happen, you're like, fine.
Yeah.
So I did a couple of shows a season, but when Packer would come in, it's like a storm's coming, right?
There's no doubt, yeah.
It's like, just get in the basement, wait till this blows
Halpert
over.
loved him.
Halpert, what's up, Halpert?
You still queer?
Oh my goodness, we all are, by the way. We all have all the parts to be queer. Everybody does.
From Tony, he said, let's keep it around 15.
Okay.
Around 15.
Oh, you don't want to do any other media here. You're good with
Round
us.
up, round
Hey,
down.
why
I'm
are
talking about
there?
age. I'm talking about age.
Age,
tomorrow.
yeah.
For
No,
the-
no, no.
Let's
I
keep
was
it
gonna
around
say
15.
we're not.
No, we can do
15
it.
minutes.
You're my last stop. We're here for hours.
Okay, good,
Okay.
good. We've only we got you for an hour 15.
No, you know who would love it? Like, can we go ahead and send Luganville a link? I think he would love to jump in.
Yeah. That'd be great. Why are there so many good actors / comedians from Kansas City? I spent my first
isn't that
time there a
amazing?
couple of years ago, but Sudeikis, you've got Stone Street,
Rudd,
Riggle. Yeah, that's crazy.
Heidi Gardner. There's David Cook.
Is it a
from
good?
American-
Is it a good comedy scene there though, as far as the comedy clubs?
See, I'm not from Kansas City. I'm from a small town in Missouri. Those guys all did improv in high school, or they all went to Chicago and did it, or they did it at UCB in New York. So I don't know what it is, but we all do a big charity. The 5 of us, we host it. Myself, Heidi Gardner, who's on SNL now, Rob Riggle, Jason Sudeikis, Eric Stone Street, Paul Rudd, and me. Is there 6 of us now? Yeah. So then we bring in 50 celebrity friends. Well, that's what it was this year. It's going on so big. And so we do a big charity benefit for Children's Mercy Hospital. And I think we've raised, I can't remember the numbers, $15 or $25 million over the past 15 years. It's pretty amazing. And we take you for the whole weekend. You come in on Thursday, then we have a private donors thing at a house, and then the next day we all go visit the kids and the families at Children's Mercy Hospital. Then we do a softball game at Kauffman Stadium, which is Royals Field, and then we have that's Friday. What happens Friday? Oh, that's all day Friday. And then Saturday we go visit the kids again, and then then Saturday we have a huge show at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, where we put on a show, basically. And we have all kinds of, like, Sheryl Crow's come the last 2 years. She's from Missouri. Like David Cook comes. He's from Kansas City. He'll sing. So it's kind of a variety show. but it's a humdinger.
Your favorite work for me personally, Thank You for Smoking.
Nice.
I just thought that movie was so well done. And unfortunately, I don't know how many people have seen that movie. Critically acclaimed, obviously. What was that experience like? And would you agree, like, I can tell you're off the cuff, obviously an improv guy, but as far as like quality movie, quality work, how proud of that project were you?
It's amazing. Now, that was based on a short book. And I think the source material really helped it because it had an A and a B story, and it had a beginning, middle, and end, which really helps you. So you've got great source material. But I always say about that movie could hold water. A lot of movies have leaks. That one doesn't. That one is perfect all the way through. It's Jason Reitman's first film. And his best one, how come I haven't been in all of his movies? I don't know.
You could play Clooney in Up in the Air, right?
He tried a couple times, but I was always busy, which is too bad. And you know, you're ruffling feathers. Like, I'm on a TV show, they won't let me off. And I know what his thing is. He doesn't, they're like, well, so get off. Like, well, I can't. I have a job. I'm not going to quit this job to work for you for 2 weeks. Anyway, where's my mind going? That show is, you're right, it's perfect. Now, there wasn't a lot of improv in that thing. It may have been around the table when the three merchants of death are doing our thing talking. But Aaron Eckhart, man, how great is he?
Oh, incredible.
That guy, you give him dialogue, it comes out of his mouth so smoothly. It's amazing.
He doesn't, The Company of Men.
My God, if you haven't seen The Company of Men, folks.
It's incredible.
It's a tough movie.
Yeah, you don't know if women are going to love it.
No. But man, how great is he in that?
And I just don't understand why he doesn't get more work. I mean, he does get work, but like he's not like an A-list lead guy.
Yeah. You've got to want it so badly. That's all you think about every second of every day, number one. He has had a very good career. Maybe he didn't choose to do television. I don't know. You never know. You kind of do look at it. And here's the other thing. How do any of us work anyway? When you actually get a job, when you look back, you're like, wow, I got hired.
So you're Citizen Kane.
Yes.
You could say, thank you for smoking. Piranha
3 double D?
Double D.
Is because I have 5 kids.
I gotta feed them somehow, right?
We saw what was the Michael Caine quote on Jaws?
Michael Caine was, I take the script, if I'm on the first page and the last page, I say yes.
Oh my gosh. And he also said on Johnny Carson, I have a house in London, I have an apartment in New York, and I have a house in Malibu. Why not?
What was it like working with Gary Busey? Did you have any one-on-one? Because I've heard the guy's insane. Yeah.
He and I didn't have any scenes together. I met him at the premiere, and it was an interesting interaction.
We're going to do another segment with David. He said he'll stick around all day. We're not going to make him do that. We've given David a Coke and a donut. A Coke and a donut.
Hey, tough guys, at least on camera that you've worked with, and I think Carl Weathers, the late Carl Weathers, probably one of those guys. But I wanted to ask you, because that really affected my son that you just did a video for because of Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
And it really, it stumbled him when he passed away.
Me too.
But I was going to ask you, Timothy Olyphant.
Oh, yeah.
Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
I mean, which one of those guys is more like their character on the screen?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'd say Timmy. Timmy likes to talk slow. He's pretty pensive.
Do you think he can shoot?
He's always... I don't know, but
wouldn't that be interesting to know, though?
You know Carl can punch.
Oh, yeah.
Carl Weathers. Oh, my God. I did a movie with him, The Comebacks. He was the sweetest, and we stayed friends. You know, there's so many people who meet in show business like, let's get together. And it's all BS, but not with Carl. Man, and we would do conventions during the pandemic. And I'd see him, and we'd go out to dinner every time. And just the sweetest man. And, you know, I found myself coming to him when I wanted advice about anything, relationships or show business. And I could talk to Carl. And, I'm going to cry. So I couldn't make his memorial. But his partner called, and she told me about it. And I'd already had this gig, and I couldn't, 30 days you can't get out of it. And the best part was she said, Carl really liked you. And he always spoke very fondly of you. And so that meant the world to me. And boy, it was a shock. But gosh, as far as a good person, he's just up there. And it's easy to love Carl Weathers, I'll tell you that. He's just amazing, yeah.
Let's let him finish his last bite of donut. It's Comedy Club. Comedy Club this weekend.
444-0008. Shows tonight, 3 shows tomorrow, including Office Trivia. Do we know what time Office Trivia is?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, and Tony says we need to keep it 15 and up. 15 and up. Yeah, we've got nothing else on that. I was checking to see if we had anything.
What would you, and you can exclude your works because you should be very proud of your works.
Thank you, sir.
What would you say is the perfect piece of comedy? Could be a skit on Saturday Night Live, could be a movie, could be a TV show. Perfect piece of comedy.
Well, for me, it's Monty Python.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That was my thing, man. When I first saw the Holy Grail, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, I couldn't believe what was happening. Because I remember watching it after Saturday night. My parents used to go out dancing on Saturdays, and they weren't fans of any kind of comedy that was a bit racy, so they would not have allowed me to watch SNL. So I never told them about it, right? So I would be babysitting my 3 younger siblings, and I was not a kind brother. And I told my sister Cecilia once, I said, I want to apologize for all the horrible things I did. She goes, that's okay. I know that you were just mad at Mom and Dad. How amazing is that? Anyway, shout out to Cecilia. Anyway, it came on, Monty Python and the Holy Grail came on at like 1:30 in the, 12:30 at night, whatever it was. And the opening, and I missed the first part of the opening, the preamble, and I thought it was going to be a horror movie. I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to watch this, because you just see this fog, a dark in the fog, and then you hear cluck, 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 and then they're coming over the hill, and it's people knocking on coconuts as if they were riding a horse. Right. And it's the most beautiful thing I'd ever. There it is. There it is. It was so absurd and beautiful and so smart. That is probably what made me decide I'm going to do comedy.
Really?
Yes.
That moment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's so brilliant. And it's so well done, and they're all so good, and they're all playing multiple characters. It's to me, that's the greatest.
You mentioned COVID. How difficult was COVID for you? We did this show together for 377 days in my basement on the couch because corporate wouldn't let us come in before we were doing this. Right. But for an actor, comedian, writer, how difficult?
It's tough. You're home. At least my kids that were out of the house came back, so that was delicious, And I realized, I was present enough to realize this will never be happening again. This is the last time I get to have them with me this close, this much time. So that was good. But otherwise, you just take the government money and thank God for it, right? You get through it. And I wish I had spent my time more effectively, efficiently in terms of like writing. You got time to write a script. You got no excuses. But then you go about your small day. Remember how small your day became?
Yeah.
Going to get a coffee was a big deal.
I thought and it seems like you took a lot of positives out of it. But I think there were a lot of positives.
Yeah.
Do you care about football? You went to Missouri. Do you care about SEC football?
It's got Bear Bryant's hat.
Oh, I know. I didn't know was that planned?
That is not for Bear Bryant.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I'm not a Roll Tide.
That's fine.
It's MIZ.
Z-O-U.
Z-O-U, baby.
That's right.
But I'm not a huge college football guy. So I'm more NFL.
More NFL.
Yeah.
So you're Chiefs?
Oh, God. It's for my life. Now, I've been a Chiefs fan for 50 years.
Yeah.
When I was 10, I was watching in my grandmother's living room with my cousins from Kansas City. We're watching the then longest game in football history, Chiefs versus the Dolphins.
I'm a Dolphins fan.
Stewart, what's his name?
Dawson.
Not
Lynn Dawson was the quarterback.
The kicker, wide right. So we lost that game.
Yep. Yeah, I'm happy you did.
Yeah.
Do you know Eric Stone Street well? Because he's a big Chiefs fan too.
Yeah. Me, Stone Street, Riggle, we're all the same.
Yeah, Rod Riggle.
Yeah. Me and Rod, big Chiefs fans.
Yeah.
Are we going to bring on?
Luca Bell said he didn't have a question.
Hey, what's going on?
I got one.
Okay, you got one. This is ESPN's Tom Lugabill. He is a college football analyst, ESPN. He's a big fan of yours. He was excited you were on before him.
Whammy.
Whammy.
Nice. Dig deeper.
Hey, man.
Give me one more. Dig
it's
deeper.
A pleasure.
Fill those lungs up. Give me a full whammy.
Whammy.
There you go. He peaked the mic. Well done, sir. Well done.
Hey, I've got to ask a question. I told Ryan Brown when we were texting, and he said you were coming on yesterday. I said, ask him if he's still seeing Dorothy Mantooth.
I will smash your
him,
face into a car windshield and then take your mother, Dorothy Mantooth, out for a nice seafood dinner and never call her again.
Now you got to ask. Now you got to ask yourself: are bats still the chicken of the cave?
Yes, sir. You know what they call bats, don't you? Chicken of the cave. And then Will, and nobody says that.
Absolutely nobody says that. Hey, I have to ask you, David, I have to ask you about one of, I think, your most underrated movies, which featured so many stars that weren't quite stars yet. And I've been watching Shane Gillis's series on Netflix, Tires. Have you watched it?
I have not.
Okay, you need to check it out because it is The Waiting television version, but it's instead of being in like an Applebee's, that type of restaurant, it's in a tire and oil change center.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same concept. It's fantastic. But how much did you enjoy that role? I think that movie is so vastly underrated, and over the years, it's grown on I think so many people.
Yeah, if you're in the restaurant business, you have to watch it because, I mean, everybody that works in a restaurant watches that thing. I'd worked in a ton of restaurants throughout my life. I've never drawn one unemployment check. I've been working since I was 7. My dad made me go to work at 7, and I think he thought he was giving me a break. Because I'm pretty sure he started working at 5 for his dad.
That's right. He'll let you wait.
So throughout high school, and then when I had my time in Chicago, I always worked in restaurants. I could walk into any restaurant anywhere, and I could work any station. I've been a bartender, I've been a cook, I've been a waiter, so I know this whole world very well. So when I did audition for that one, I do remember this. When I auditioned for it, the casting director was crying. I do remember that because I put my foot up on a chair really close to her. So you can imagine. So she's looking at what my dad would say, croth area. My dad couldn't say the word crotch.
So he said croth?
He couldn't. Yeah, he said, right there in the croth area. Because I think my dad thought crotch was a dirty word.
Okay, all right.
Right there in the croth area. So I had my foot up on this chair, and man, she lost it. And I was like, well, that's mine.
Yeah.
It's one of those few times. And guess what? It wasn't. They had an offer out to somebody else who didn't take it, and then it was mine.
Wow.
So anyway, me and Justin Long improvised everything on that.
Really?
I love that kid. He was in Anchorman. His part got cut. He is a sweetheart. He is devastatingly funny. He's so unassuming and so sweet. I just love that guy, man. He's amazing.
What a great movie, man.
What did Luke Mill's talking about The Waiting. What about 40-Year-Old Virgin? What did that do for your career as far as, because I know you guys network and you meet people through different channels, but that was another early on, to me, comedy is so difficult to have quality comedy. I thought that movie was great. I thought the cast was incredible, but what did it do for your career?
You don't know. I don't know. There's just more.
Is that where you met Steve, though?
No.
Okay.
I met Steve at Second City in Chicago. So I'd known him since 1989 or 90. So, but that's how that came about, too. Like, they had that little scene in the therapist's office, and that's his wife, Nancy, who's running the therapy thing. And Apatow was directing, and I remember him lobbing in a few jokes that really worked very well. So that was just another fun day for me to play with friends, because at that time, I was in the thick of it. Like, I had stuff going all the time. And then, of course, in your mind, it's never going to slow down.
But that's such a quick scene, but that probably took a day or two, right?
No, it took one day.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I got some lines. I got some pops. I'll tell you what, I'll show up. You put me in, I'll show up.
We know that.
Yeah.
All right. As David leaves us, and we'll go talk some college football with Luca Bill in a moment, but let's remind everybody about what's coming up this weekend at the Comedy
so
Club.
we've got multiple shows tonight, 444-0008. You can go to stardome.com. Also, 3 shows tomorrow, including at 4 o'clock, that matinee, The Office Trivia. You're going to come out as Todd Packer.
Hosted by the real Todd Packer.
And we're going to go 15 and up.
Okay.
You don't have to have an ID of 15, so probably 13 and up.
If your parents want to bring you and tell the lie that you're 15.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'll tell you one last story.
No, you're pleased.
I remember when I would go to the Missouri State Fair every year with my dad, because he would display in the agricultural section because he made livestock trailers. And so I remember if you're 11 and up, you have to pay. So I remember we're going through the gate, and they go, "How old is the boy?" And my dad looks at me and goes, "You're 10, right?" And I remember thinking, my dad knows that I will lie
to save him money,
and he's trusting me to lie.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, well, this solidifies our relationship, Dad, because I'm going to lie the rest of my life. So, yeah.
Fantastic. David, it has been a true pleasure. We greatly
Same
appreciate
here.
the time.
Thank you. God bless, guys.